It's been just over 3 weeks since the public murder of Charlie Kirk. Words that I still can't believe I'm saying. 1 month ago, 4 weeks ago, if you asked me, like if I'd ever utter those words, especially with how young Charlie was, I wouldn't believe so. But yet again, it's not shocking. It's shocking, but not surprising. It's not surprising that a leftist violently murdered someone, one of us. It's just shocking that it happened. Happened to him. Happened the way it did. But I want to talk about Charlie Kirk real quick. Charlie Kirk was truly a titan of our time. I don't know if anyone as young as him has had as big of an impact on our generation, at least in this country, in a very long time. I can't think of anyone. Maybe there is, but I can't think of anyone. This man, number one, is a great contributor to Trump winning the election in 2024. And even greater than that, he's responsible for saving a lot of people out of leftism, giving reasonable arguments for the conservative viewpoint. But most importantly, and eternally, his greatest contribution is what he did for the kingdom of Jesus Christ through spreading the gospel. That's what Charlie Kirk will be known for. That's Charlie Kirk's legacy. The politics and stuff is cool, and politics is downstream from faith. Politics and faith are, you can't separate them. But Charlie Kirk's true legacy will be what he did for the kingdom. And that's something that I think I took for granted while he was still around. I never doubted Charlie Kirk's faith. Never. But I always thought that he was more known for his political views. But once Charlie Kirk got killed, and people start talking about how Charlie Kirk led them to Jesus Christ, that's when I realized what an impact this man had. Not just in the political realm, but in the spiritual realm, which is downstream from politics. Charlie Kirk understood that politics is ministry. Despite what any lukewarm, scaredy, soft pastors may tell you, squishy Christians say, I stay out of politics. Politics is ministry. Not ministry in a way that you can be a minister in your job. You can evangelize at your IT job or your police job, represent Christ. No, politics is ministry as much as being a pastor is ministry. Because what you are doing if you were a Christian in politics is that you are following a biblical worldview and implementing that and spreading that throughout your city, throughout your precinct, your town, or wherever you are. So what Charlie Kirk was doing was spreading a biblical worldview throughout the nation. So what this man did, I mean, this really hit me. This death really hit me more than any other celebrity death. Number one, I've had the privilege of meeting this man, 3 times. We weren't very close, not gonna lie. I'm not gonna say like we were friends, but I met him 3 times. The first time I met Charlie Kirk, I was 19 years old. I went to Liberty University, and him and Candace Owens came for an event back when she was with Turning Point. This is back in 2018, and I went for Candace, but I knew of Charlie, but I wasn't like following him that much. But I was very impressed with him. I got to meet him and Candace after that event. And then 2 years later, I was a part of the Freedom Center at Liberty University. And that's a long story of how I got into that, and maybe for another day. But the Friday I joined, I think I got recruited into it unexpectedly on a Tuesday. And if you don't know, the Freedom Center, which was then called the Falkirk Center, is a center at Liberty University founded by Jerry Falwell and Charlie Kirk. So it was initially called the Falkirk Center. This is before the whole Jerry Falwell thing went down. And what they focus on is integrating politics and faith, and how do we navigate politics as Christians. So when I was surprisingly, unexpectedly recruited as an ambassador, I was invited to this event they were having that Friday for their ambassadors, where they were like, hey, listen, Salam, that's my name, Charlie Kirk and some other people are going to be there. You should come. And I showed up. And now let me backtrack a little bit. While they were inviting me, while I was in the office, when they were telling me, hey, you're in the Freedom Center, you're in back then the Falkirk Center, you're an ambassador. This is what we are. Hey, they gave me a stack of books to read. They were like, read these, and then they gave me a stack of 4 books, and they said, this book right here, The MAGA Doctrine. They gave me 4 copies of this book, signed by Charlie Kirk. I don't know how well you can see that. They said, keep one for yourself, give away the other 3. So I gave away 2 of them. Never got around to giving away the other copy I have. I still have 2. I think I'm going to keep it, though. It's been 5 years. And then they said, yeah, Charlie will be there this Friday with some other influencers, and you should come. And then I went, and when I walked into the building in that event for my Liberty University, people will know, it was in North Hall. And when I walked in to the building, I saw Charlie Kirk walk in. He was walking to the bathroom, and him and I made awkward eye contact. Kind of lingered for a little bit. I wanted to say hi, but I didn't think he'd remember me. So I just didn't say anything, and then he just went over to the bathroom. I went into the room. The event was great. After the event, um, someone was introducing me to all the people there, and then she introduced me to Erica Kirk. That was my first time meeting Erica. That's back when she was Charlie's girlfriend. This is before they were ever married or engaged. And then afterwards, she was like, hey, Salam, this is Charlie. And she started telling about me, and I was like, hey, Charlie, we actually met a couple of years ago. I don't know if you remember me. He said, yeah, I thought you looked familiar. So that was a fun moment. And this was 2 years after I first met him. So I was happy that Charlie remembered me. And we took a picture together. Then that next year, I went to the NRB with the Freedom Center. For those of you who don't know, that's the religious broadcasting religious sorry, National Religious Broadcasting Convention they host in Texas. And it was in Dallas, in the Gaylord. And it's best way I could describe it is a Christian radio convention. And there Charlie Kirk was hosting a panel, like a live podcast where he was interviewing Alan West. And I was walking by, I saw him doing the panel, and then him and I like locked eyes. He gave me a little hello, like how's it going? Little head nod, acknowledging me, and I was like, oh, Charlie remembers me. And then afterwards, Ryan Heffelbein, head of the Freedom Center, did an interview. We all sat in the room, and then he came up, said hello to me, asked how I was doing. So that's my history with Charlie Kirk. Guy probably didn't remember me, but you know, I'm grateful to have met him. I'm above and I'll be honest, I'm grateful for what he did for the kingdom, and man, I can't believe this. I cannot believe this 3 weeks later. And what that kid did when he murdered him is he thought he was ending what Charlie did. But you know, what the enemy takes for evil, God turns it for good. What the enemy meant for evil through murdering Charlie Kirk, God turned for good. So many people have come to Christ since then, have gone back to church, have become Jesus curious as a result of the murder of Charlie Kirk. Look at what came out of this. Seriously, Charlie Kirk's memorial service had hundreds of millions of people watching on TV, live stream. He had, I think, he had a few 100,000 people there watching a worship service that was like 5 hours long. I want you guys to think about that. A worship service 5 hours long that not only had some of the most powerful people in the world in that room hearing the gospel, Elon Musk included, and I'm praying for him. You had hundreds of millions of people around the world watching that. And that was his memorial service was all about Jesus at the center. This is revival in this nation. This is revival. You know, I was very grieved. I still am grieved watching that service. I mean, man, so many emotions. The sadness is real, but the encouragement in Jesus Christ in this moment, don't take that for granted. If Charlie is looking down from heaven, if people do look down from heaven, I think he's very pleased. Pleased to see that the kingdom is advancing. The kingdom is advancing still because of the works that Christ did through Charlie. Not that, and there's nothing that any of us do. It's what Christ does through us. All we have to do is be obedient to what Christ wants. And another thing we have to mention is Erica Kirk's incredible forgiveness that she did on stage. Forgiving the boy, man, that murdered her husband is something that can only be explained through Jesus Christ. It does not make sense with logic. It does not make sense from any secular worldview. That can only be explained by Jesus Christ. If that woman can forgive him, then I can forgive anyone. If Jesus Christ can forgive any of us, this is a lesson we need to take from this. If he can forgive us for our sin, then there is no heinous act that anyone else can do that we can't forgive them of. Because Christ already forgave them. And that obedience that she showed on that stage was truly a testimony of Jesus. But there's also the point of, where do we go from here? It's no longer safe for Christians, conservatives to be out there in the open, talking to people in the way Charlie did. Where do we go? I say keep spreading the gospel. Spread it harder. But what I've also learned is you can't reason. When it comes to politics, you can't reason with these people, with these radical leftists. Anyone you see celebrating can't be reasoned with. They're beyond reason. All you can do is pray for their soul. Anyone who's okay with the murder or apathetic towards the murder of Charlie Kirk can't be reasoned with. They're gone. I have no sympathy for them losing their jobs. They should lose their jobs. They shouldn't be able to have any money. Pray for them to receive salvation and be freed of their evil, debaucherous ways. But don't be consumed by hatred. That's not of the Lord. Charlie Kirk. Man, oh man. What a legacy he's leaving. I truly believe this is a turning point for our generation. At least here in America, where Christianity was already growing. Bible sales went up like 22% in 2024. Now with this flood of people coming back to church through Charlie Kirk's passing, I can't wait to see what the Lord's going to do. You know, I was doing street evangelism in Washington, D.C. a few days after Charlie Kirk died, the Friday of that week. I was talking to a young Jewish man, Jewish by ethnicity, and he told me that he came to Jesus Christ. And when I asked him what led him to Christ, he said it was Charlie Kirk. For those of you who don't know, it takes a lot for a Jewish person to come to Jesus. There's a lot of sacrifices they're making. That's someone of real faith. Real, genuine faith when it matters, when it's difficult. And when I heard that, I was just like, man, this man, what he did for the kingdom, I didn't fully appreciate while he was here. I never doubted his Christianity. I always knew and saw him preaching the gospel. But his impact in the world of the kingdom, of spreading the gospel of Jesus Christ, was something I undermined. I always thought of his impact as being more political, but this man's impact was far deeper than that. It was biblical. It was towards advancing the kingdom of Jesus Christ. And guys, we must keep going and acting in that obedience. Plain and simple. Don't stop telling people about Jesus. If you're a Christian and you're not sharing your faith, start right now, okay? Don't be worried about it being awkward. Guess what? It's either you have an awkward moment that you're worried of, or that person goes to hell. So what are you going to do? Go share the gospel. Don't be shy. Shyness is selfish. No one cares about. Don't worry about what anyone thinks of you. Be obedient and share the gospel. Be uncomfortable. And know this. You may get persecuted. You probably will. But it's all for the glory of Jesus Christ, and it's an honor. I could go on for so much longer, but we'd be here for hours. But guys, thank you so much for listening. God bless you guys. Truly. This Charlie Kirk thing still weighs heavy on my heart. Pray for his family. Pray for Erica. Their new position is the new CEO of Turning Point. Pray that she does well continuing the legacy of her husband. Pray for their children. And pray for this country. Pray for the youth of this nation. That this generation becomes a radical generation on fire for Jesus. God bless you guys. Have a great rest of your day.